All right, greetings. Welcome back to the Saints Bar. This week, I wanted to do just a quick rundown of kind of my vision for this channel. Again, this is CB McGloss, and I initially had the idea for this channel because I've felt for a long time like the Catholic Church isn't very good at catechesis. And I realize it's actually not a very controversial statement. There's some speculation that the Protestant Reformation never would have happened if catechesis had been better. And many people feel that even to this day, sometimes we're just not very good at catechizing. And I think weighing in as a convert, I would say that there's elements of truth to that, as well as maybe sometimes being a little bit overly self-critical. Sometimes I see in cradle Catholics, I've had conversations with people who understand philosophical proofs who have absolutely no business understanding philosophy. I had a conversation with a man who described himself as a simple man, as a laborer, he's a tradesman, and he then lays out a philosophical proof to explain a principle. And I was like, this isn't a religion that forms like people lacking in intellectual development. Even the simple among us have the ability to think clearly, and I think that there's an aspect of the clarity that comes with the love of Christ, with the depths of our faith and such, that it's only natural that would happen. But I sometimes think that we miss opportunities to further this. And unfortunately, it's gonna, this might end up sounding a little bit controversial, but part of how we do that is we put so much emphasis on doing the going to church and praying a universal devotion. It's probably for the best that this channel is not very big, because I know there's a lot of people who that would be where they click off. That's where they would be super angry. And I'm in no way saying that you shouldn't, I'm in no way saying that you should, don't go to Mass. Obviously, go to Mass. Every day that you're required to go to Mass, go to Mass. Every day that you are able to go to Mass beyond that, beautiful. Keep it up. That's wonderful. If you are able to pray a rosary every day, that's awesome. I love the fact that you have the grace for that. If you are able to pray the Angelus every day, amazing, beautiful. These are universal devotions, and they have, there's a reason why they are universally recommended. And I want to recommend, I think this channel kind of is inspired by this weird blend of a universal devotion that I think can be particularized. Which is a really big way of saying it's a devotion that is available to every single Christian on earth, but it can be focused to you, to your area, to where you are living. And then it can be, from there, it can draw out the universal truths of the faith. And that's keeping a devotion to the saints that isn't simply a, like, two ways in which I see devotion to the saints kept is either, you go to Mass on their feast day, and sometimes it doesn't really focus that heavily on the saint. It depends, certain priests are really good about, like, this priest has a really great devotion to that saint, and so they're able to draw out a lot about the saint in their homily, but other times it can be a little bit thin on the ground. And then on the flip side of this, you can end up with, you can end up with people who go to the pub for St. Patrick's Day and they get absolutely schnockered off their minds. And, like, we literally have texts from the early church condemning doing exactly that. Don't just get drunk for a saint's feast day. It's not very respectful, and it's not serving the purpose of the saint. And I think this is kind of the inspiration of the channel, is realizing several different factors kind of convergently. Namely, the saints we celebrate were actual human beings who lived, who followed Christ. And we can, as St. Paul said, we can be imitators of them as they imitated Christ. That should be the goal of our life. And so I think it's important to build a habit of charity connected to the saints, connected to the saints' days. And then on top of that habit of charity, develop a habit of celebration, of joy, because the Christian life should be filled with joy. It is a celebration of life, the life that Christ has given to his people. This is what we celebrate on a saint's feast day. And so I think joyous jubilations is the only appropriate approach. And it also has the added benefit of, like, both of these actions are catechetical in nature. And I think this actually addresses the problem that I brought up at the beginning, that we haven't been very good at catechesis in the church. And I think that part of that's because we don't know our stories. We've been made to be ashamed of the saints. We've been made to be ashamed of our stories. And these stories are powerful because they show us what it looks like for a human being living a human life to live in the imitation of Christ. And we can imitate that, imitating them as they imitate Christ. And then on top of that, we can also show our children, because obviously this isn't just for us. This isn't just so that, oh, Clive wants to go to heaven, so Clive is gonna, do this stuff, but all of his children will rue the day that they were born to such a man as this. No, God forbid. Like, I want my children to learn the faith by participation, by joyful charity, but also by joyful celebration. And even to a point, like joyful fasting, joyful learning to find the joy in all of the Christian life, I think is amazing. So I think celebration is necessary to the ultimate fulfillment of this calling. And celebration can be localized. For a long time, pork would have been part of the celebration of St. Patrick, reminding us of a miracle involving pigs. And then when pork was not available to, the Irishmen in America, they made do with corned beef and cabbage. And I mean, they were making do with cabbage for a long time, but corned beef at the very least was what was available to them. And so they celebrated with that. And it's become ubiquitous in America with the celebration of the feast. And I want to draw out those elements. So if you will, like and subscribe and come with me on this journey of trying to find the meaning of the saints' feast days. How is it we don't simply leave the saints as figures in history or as excuses for alcohol or excuses for any of this kind of stuff? No shade on drinking a drink of celebration, but just don't. Let it be celebration, don't let it be debauchery. Let them be real people, but people that you can actually connect to, who ultimately point us to the higher reality, who is the God who loves us so much that he became incarnate so that we can encounter him in a true and intimate way through his sacraments, through his church, and through the love that he shows us every single day of our lives. So again, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. Put down in the comments section below your favorite saint. I don't know, your patron saint. What feast day do they have? What are saints that you wish were highlighted more often in society? And hopefully over the course of the next year, or, however we can actually cover them. And I hope, above all, that this is an encouragement to you. And we'll see you again at the Saints Bar.